Good morning, class. My paper topic is reduplication. What is reduplication? Reduplication is a morphological process where an element of a word is repeated. That may be partial or full and can occur in different places of the root or stem. This process is used in several languages across many language families globally. However, it is not used frequently in the Indo-European language family compared to other language families. For example, in Indo-European languages, reduplication is quite limited to expressions. So for example, in English, we have hush hush, bye bye, wishy washy, to name a few, but I'm sure I know there's a couple classmates in here that have children. I'm sure you can think of a few others. And even if you don't have kids, English has many reduplicated expressions. So what is the purpose of reduplication in languages? Why would we want to just say a word twice? Like, why can't we just say it once? Or why can't we have another morpheme to express various things from number, tense, like what is the purpose? So some languages use reduplication to place emphasis on a specific morpheme to really place emphasis on their speech, on what they're saying. Another huge key purpose to reduplication is inflectional and derivational change, of course, which changes the semantics when you have derivational change. So inflectional change, as a refresher, would be that dog and then using s for plural, so dog and dog. So it's still a noun, you're just having more than one dog. But derivational change is kind of when we see that change in semantics. So derivational change could be beautiful, which is the noun, and then you add full as the suffix, and you have beautiful, and that's an adjective, like that's very beautiful, like that dog is very beautiful, you're very beautiful. So we see that reduplication a lot, to see in a language, to see a noun change to an adjective, or a verb change to an adverb, to name a few. So that's a key thing to look out for when you're doing language analysis, is to just see, is the word changing? Is that grammatical category changing, or is it just there? Because in some languages, which we'll look at, it is just a formal requirement. There's no necessity for it being there. There's nothing that, like, if you went through pages and pages of data, there would be no clear pattern of why the language has reduplication. It's just a formal requirement. Some other key purposes are change in syntax. So even in my own research, I could see that based on, like, if certain morphemes changed, like the order in the way that the speaker was saying something, or the way that the language orders their sentences, if certain morphemes were changed around, whether that was the case markers or the key morphemes, like the nouns or the adjectives, were moved, there was reduplication. And then also, like I mentioned, it can be used for various grammatical categories. So number, so pluralization occurs a lot with reduplication. I noticed that the most, and I've seen that the most even in my time in studying various languages. It can be used as tense, gender markers, and various other things. The list goes on. So for reduplication, there is two forms. So you have total, or also known as full reduplication. So in my original example of an expression, you have hush hush. So it's quite obvious, but it's when you have one full morpheme, that that root or that stem, and it can fully reduplicates. So you see it once, you see it twice. So hush hush. And then with partial reduplication, this occurs in a language when an element of a word is partially copied. This process may come in a variety of forms, from simple consonant gemination or vowel lengthening to nearly a complete copy of a base. You will often, like, you do see total reduplication, but there is a lot more partial reduplication globally, just because it's used for a lot more things. So looking at so looking at this example here, it can be observed that at the beginning of the base is reduplicated. So this comes from Hanzib, which is a language in a speech community close to the Russian-Georgia border. So we have Batiab, I apologize if I'm pronouncing this wrong, which means different. And then we can observe that the beginning of the base is being reduplicated. So we have that the beginning here, that initial part, bat, and so it creates batiab, which adds on that adverb very that we see here, which creates, it goes from different to very different. And that's a very good example of partial reduplication. And then, so for initial reduplication, we can see in telelogue here that we have sulat, which is right. And then if we use that partial reduplication at the beginning, at the initial word initially, that prefix su, sulat, now we have will, right? And then I don't have examples for medial and final, but you will see those in future slides. Final is quite obvious. It would be similar to su, sulat, will, right? If, say, the Filipino or the Philippine language changed it to su, sulat, su. So you would often see part of that original morpheme parsed and then placed word finally to add on a morpheme or create some form of change. Yeah, word medially is a little more interesting to see, which I'll show you in, again, future slides. So this was the rare case that I wanted to speak about because it's not often seen. This is a morphological rarity of this variety of Chinese traditionally spoken in and around Xing in the northwest of China. It's used in common nouns. Common nouns are always reduplicated in this area of northwest of China. So we can see here water, water. So we have that participle there, that past participle. So we have the she has, and then we have drink, and then we have the present perfect aspect there. So she has drunk water. There's no clear pattern or reason why this is here. And then again, we have Momo. and it's just a steamed bun. And then do knife, knife, but it's a single knife. This knife is very expensive. So the reduplication has no semantic effect whatsoever, but is a purely formal requirement that is seen in this traditional Chinese in northwest of China. And then we move on to a more common occurrence in nouns. So again, sorry for my pronunciation, but Pengsinon is an Austronesian language, and reduplication is used often to express pluralization. So in A, we have two for man, and then we see that partial reduplication that I was speaking about, where they take the initial consonant vowel and they add it on as a prefix word initially, and you got totu, which is people, so plural. And then you have amigo for friend, and then you have amigo for friends. So this is where I'll show you reduplication word meaningly. So here we can see amigo, and then here you can see, I'm trying to make this clear, the MI is taken from this original morpheme and reduplicated and placed in the word. So this is a word meaningly. So you can see partial reduplication, and you can see that the position is word meaningly. So moving on to C, so we have Bali or Bali, which is town, and then again, same as A and D, that word initial and partial reduplication. And same thing here, plateau and palato. And then even with partial reduplication, you can oftentimes see changes in tones or vowel lengthening. Here we can see that when we reduplicated word initially, it seems that there's added stress on that second vowel. So those are some things to look out for. Even in A, we can see we have pu, but then here we can see that there's a change to that. So here we can see that's the second vowel that has that stress, and then here we can also see it's second, but it moved. So instead of being on that final vowel, it's now on the second vowel in the sentence. So it's important to look out for those key things. Also, you will see reduplication on other words of speech. Unfortunately, in the time I had, I did not get to doing research on the adjectives and verbs, but I look forward to doing more research and answering any of your questions. Thank you for listening.